Hello everyone, welcome to the Automation Hangout. I thought I'll spare some time today explaining about the basics of software testing. So there are a lot of individuals who would like to move into the stream of software testing, and there are a lot of common people around who are interested to know what is actually covered within the software testing profession. So I'll start off by taking a small example. Assume that you are planning to purchase a product via an e-commerce website, maybe like a Flipkart or an Amazon. And your primary objective was to search for t-shirts, and you actually found 3 good t-shirts, each worth $30, and you have added them to the cart. And then once you're done, you are ready to do the checkout, of the items from the website. At that point of time, when you actually clicked on the checkout button, you're actually encountering an error. Which is something like a page not found error, and you're unable to complete the purchase of the product. So in the scenario that I explained, the customer who experienced this problem may not even think about coming back to this website. And if it is an e-commerce website who actually caters to the need of at least 500 customers every day, the total loss that they were incurring per day because of this error should be somewhere around 15,000 USD. So it's actually a substantial loss if it's like an individual business or a small business. So how do you actually avoid such problems happening in real time? So that's the primary reason why we have a software stream called software testing, or a software engineering stream called software testing. And the primary objective of this particular stream is to actually improve the quality of the product. So any application or product that you're developing will actually have a set of requirements that are either created by taking inputs from the business user or from a product owner. And the primary job of creating this business requirements document, or the requirements document, lies with the business analyst. So the requirement document would primarily contain details about the various functionalities that you're going to build in your application or product, and it may also cover some non-functional aspects or requirements as well. A simple example for a functional requirement would be information about how products should be actually displayed when a user is actually searching for it within the e-commerce site. As well as if you look at an example on the non-functional side, a good one would be to actually write about the time that it should actually take to display information for the user, or to load a page for the user. Assume that every page should be loaded within a time span of 3 seconds. So these are examples of both functional as well as non-functional requirements. So the tester's primary job is to actually go through these requirements, whether it is functional or non-functional in nature, and to understand it to the maximum extent possible. So a feature of your application may be actually covered in more than one requirements, and you may actually have multiple such requirements for your product or application. So the first thing that the tester would actually do once he or she completes the understanding of the requirement is to actually go and figure out how that I can actually verify this requirement after the development team completes the design and coding. That means the product is now ready, but you would actually go and make sure that the developer has actually implemented this functionality or the requirement in the right sense. So that is what you would actually think about. And then to accomplish that, the first thing that you would do is to basically write various scenarios that you can actually think about on validating a specific feature. Let's take the same example of displaying of products when a customer is actually performing a search. So one will have to verify various scenarios within that particular requirement, where one can be around the details that would be displayed when the product information is actually found. For example, like you're searching for a t-shirt, you actually have a picture that will be displayed, you may have the cost of the product, you may have a description, you may have a manufacturer detail. So a lot of information gets displayed after a user performs a search. And then you may also have a scenario where you may actually look at how the products are actually getting listed. So there is more than one product that is listed. So what would be the sort order? And also you may have to ensure that the right product is displayed based on the search text that I have entered. So there can be multiple scenarios for a single requirement. And all these scenarios are actually called or termed as test scenarios. Now let's take an example of the scenario where you would like to verify the details of the product. So in this scenario, the tester will have to actually look at least using one search term, which will actually display one or more products, And to accomplish this, or in order to even test this scenario, you may actually have to log into the application. So you should be basically somewhere in the home page, and then you have to actually perform a set of actions. For example, you have to enter the term, then you have to actually press on the search button, and then the information will be displayed. So all of these steps that you have taken, including the search term, the data that will be displayed, the actions that you need to perform, all of those is actually documented in the form of something called a test case document. So a tester may actually write multiple test cases to satisfy the various requirements as well as scenarios that he or she would have outlined. And now, once you've completed the writing of test cases for all your requirements and scenarios, the next step is basically wait for the development team to complete their development. So they will actually do some basic testing, and then they'll actually deliver the product to the testing team for verification. So what a tester would actually do is, at that point of time, he or she would actually execute each of the test cases that is actually written by the team, and then they'll actually start documenting the results. So you basically would have written like for an expected result. For example, when I'm doing a search, this is what I would expect to happen. So what you're doing here during the test execution phase is basically going and executing the test case and then validating whether the result that you're actually seeing is actually what was intended, or if there is an issue, or we actually find a variance between what you're actually seeing within the application as well as what is expected, you basically log something called a defect. The defect is nothing but is an anomaly that you have found, and that anomaly is actually detected with the help of a test case, and it is basically a variance from what was actually expected to happen based on the requirements document that is actually given to you. So a defect will actually have a lot of information that you need to add. For example, you may need to actually add a summary of what the defect is. You may actually have to add details about how to actually reproduce a step. You may have to give a screenshot. There are a lot of things that you may need to actually do in order to, complete a defect, documentation. And similarly, you may execute all of your test cases. So if your expected results and actual results are matching, you basically pass your test case, and then if there is a failure, you basically fail the test case, and then you log a defect based on what I explained earlier. So once everything is complete, you basically prepare a report which will actually talk about how many test cases you have executed, how many defects you have found, how many test cases passed and failed. So what you're doing here primarily is to basically look at finding out issues within the product before you're actually shipping the product to the end customer. And this actually brings in a lot of benefits. So the primary objective of the software testing function is to identify issues or what you call as defects before the product is shipped to your end customers. And the key benefits that I would like to talk about is basically around the experience that is provided to the end customer. We saw in the first example that I mentioned, a customer who actually faces an issue with the website may not even think about coming back to the website. So it's very important to actually provide a high quality product to your end customer that actually gives him a rich experience. So software testing actually helps you to improve the experience that you're providing to your end customer. And since your website is going to be, since your customers are going to be happy, your revenues are going to improve, or if you're actually looking at an internal application, definitely your employee productivity also is going to increase because the software is actually fully functional. There's not going to be much of a downtime, or zero downtime is what you can expect. And the other important benefit is basically the cost of fixing issues. Since you're actually finding all these issues internally, the cost of fixing issues is going to come down because in production, once your application has actually gone live, we actually face issues. At that point of time, you may need to actually have a support team who will address the issue. There should be someone who's talking to the customer. A lot of processes needs to be followed before you actually even update your product with the fix for that particular issue. So in this case, since software testing is an internal function, you're basically finding issues upfront, and this will definitely help you to fix issues at a lower cost. So these are some of the benefits around carrying out software testing. This is a very interesting profession, and it is going to be very much alive for the next couple of years. So in the next set of videos that I'm going to publish, I'll be covering the details about various types of testing that you can do. I will also cover what are the different types of test automation that can be done to reduce time and all of those aspects. Thank you for listening in, and if you have feedback, please do reach out to me or pass on your comments in the comment section of the